In this hectic world, we seldom have the opportunity to sit for a few moments to converse with our family members to find out what is happening tomorrow, let alone listen to and learn about customs that may have existed for hundreds of years. This is a story about a family who not only talk about an enduring tradition, but have taken the time with their children to teach the amazing skills and even make the tools needed to carry on a tradition that dates back to the Tsars of Russia. They came by the thousands, mostly to escape Russian oppression and poverty in the early 1900s. Along with their meager belongings came their intricate language, orthodox religion, and richly enduring customs. One of these hardy families settled around the leather stocking region of central New York State in an industrial town called Binghamton. The Vankos were hard-working and, in spite of difficult conditions, managed to raise families and prosper. Michael Vanko has called New York State his home since he was born. His parents were among those who emigrated to the U.S. to escape the hardships of the Ukrainian homeland.
But they would describe life in the old country, cutting hay by hand and cutting the grain by hand, and they used to raise horses for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the cavalry. So that was they talked about life in the village. They lived in small, tiny houses. The cattle would then, would live in the houses in one part of the house, and part of the reason for that was to keep the house warm. And it was not uncommon for them to have beds over the stove so they could keep warm in the wintertime. So they were generally, like 1 or 2 room houses, but there was one part for the animals and one part for the humans.
I met my wife, Nadine Vanko, in the late 1970s. Her family had moved from Binghamton to Albany, where Nadine studied ballet as a small girl and absorbed the values and customs of her heritage. It was in Albany that I first experienced the deep traditions surrounding the Russian Orthodox Church that this family fiercely clung to. The holiday of Christmas was filled with customary Russian greetings and intricately prepared cuisine, but it was the Easter holiday that unveiled an amazing craft only superficially mimicked in other American households. The traditions surrounding the holiday were solemn and many in number.
Just before the Easter celebration, on Friday of Easter, that particular Friday, they would simulate the tomb of Christ in the church. So there was actually, his body that was taken off the cross, laid on a tomb. And the church was in black and very dim lights and whatnot. Now, at midnight, just before Easter, all right, they would ask everybody to go out of the church.
With a candle, I remember doing it.
With a candle, and they'd march around the church in a parade 3 times, all right? And in the meantime, they'd had closed the doors on the church. And so after the 3rd march, the priest would go up to the door, he'd knock on the door, and the doors would open, and now all of a sudden the church was now brightly lit, and everything was in white.
Easter lilies everywhere.
And flowers everywhere, so that you would have essentially the start of Easter.
The tradition of coloring eggs with intricate patterns, otherwise known as the Ukrainian pisanki, had been handed down for many generations in Nadine's family, and it showed in the skill in which each family member expressed the custom. Nadine often spoke of years past, helping with the tradition of drawing with melted wax and dipping the eggs in colored dyes.
We did eggs every Easter. I never tried to design them until I got older, probably with you. I was the color dipper. They put designs on it, and I dipped it in the color and handed it back. And they put more design, and then I was told put it in a different color. And eventually I tried. I don't do them particularly well, but I enjoy playing with them.
Nadine so enjoyed this tradition that even after we married and had a home of our own, we carried on the practice, one might say, religiously. Nadine's family and friends realized how much she loved this tradition and began bestowing a gift of an egg at other holidays such as Christmas and birthdays. Over time, her collection grew to this day where they number in the hundreds. The deep belief in eggs and their power to endow good fortune and fertility truly manifested itself during a period when my wife and I were concentrating on adopting a child after many years of waiting and fertility procedures. One significant day, Nadine's sister handed her a special egg with a message that this egg would finally bring a new person to our family. Sure enough, 9 months later, a baby girl was born to an unwed mother who realized she was too young to care for her. The call from the lawyer facilitating the adoption brought us to the hospital where our long-awaited dream had finally come true. Today, when people visit our home, they will see the collection of unique and beautiful eggs that adorn our dresser tops and bookshelves. Ranging from wood to crystal, the artistic wonder of the craft is preserved for future generations. But of all these cherished objects, my favorite lives in those eggs we traditionally create each year using melted wax and homemade tools. It is these traditions that solidify the family roots for our generation, creating a strong sense of identity and belonging. Though my adopted daughter may not have a genetic connection to her past, she is no less for the better, having experienced these traditions in a life filled with love. And as much as she has been a gift to us, so is this tradition a gift to her from her mother and the many generations that preserved and passed them on.